Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha here on Sefer Maayan Beit Hashoeva. At the beginning of this week's Parsha of Shmini, we learn about the eighth day of the inauguration ceremony of the Mishkan, when the Mishkan was finally completed after Moshe Rabbeinu had participated and run the first 7 days of celebration. The eighth day is the day in which he transferred the authority over to the Kohanim, and they begin to participate in the Avodah, really the first day of the beginning of the Mishkan. And the pasuk says, "Vayhi bayom hashmini," on the eighth day. What is the eighth day? Rashi notes in the pasuk, "Shmini lemiluyim." This is the eighth day of the inauguration ceremony, and the date, based on our calculations, we know based on the pasuk in Sefer Shmos, when we talk about the establishment of the Mishkan, we could correlate to the date over here. Hu Rosh Chodesh Nisan, shehu kama Mishkan bo bayom. This date of the eighth day of the Miluyim coincides with Rosh Chodesh Nisan, on the second year of the Exodus from Egypt. And Rashi notes that on this day when the Mishkan was established, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Natal Asara Ataros Hashenuyos Beseder Olam. Somehow the world took the 10 crowns of beauty, somehow that were left over from the time of Bereshis, which we learn about in Seder Olam. We happen to not only learn about in Seder Olam, but we have a Gemara that seems to speak to the same concept. The Gemara in Shabbos says, Amar le Rav Chavivi mechozna le Rav Ashi. Tashma, come learn. Vahi b'chodesh harishon, b'shana hasheni, b'echad lachodesh, and it was on the first month, meaning Nisan, on the second year, on the first of the month, Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year of the Exodus from Egypt, hu kama Mishkan. The Mishkan was established. Tana, we also learn, also, Yom natal eser ataros, the world took, or the day took 10 special crowns. What were the 10 special crowns correlated to? Well, the 10 special beginnings that happened that day. Rishon l'maisa bereshis, it was the day of the beginning of creation. Rishon l'nesim, the first day that Nesim participated in bringing their korbanos to the Mishkan. Rishon l'kahuna, first day that the Kohanim took over. Rishon l'avoda, the first day that could actually perform the daily service in the Mishkan. Rishon l'yiridas ha'esh, Rishon l'Achilas Kachim, first day when the fire came down, first day when the korbanos were consumed. Rishon lishkon shchina, the first day when the shchina could dwell in the world because the Mishkan was completed. Rishon levarach es Yisrael, the first day when the Kohanim could bless the people. Rishon leisur habamos, the first day when service outside of the Mishkan became prohibited because now we had a Mishkan. Rishon lechadashim, it's the first of the months because it's the first month of the year, etc., etc. There's 10 beginnings that happen on that day, and therefore the day takes 10 crowns. There's a lot to discuss in terms of this Gemara, this Medrash, but Rav Schwab takes one particular question and one particular aspect of this Gemara and tries to tease it out in order to understand the importance of Hakamas HaMishkan. Hine kavanas, he says, tzarich iyun godel hamala bazeat shenityaches al yado atar liyom rishon b'shavua. We have to understand what the greatness of this day really was, that somehow was correlated to being the first of the Ma'aseh Bereshis, the first day of the week, and why it takes that crown. Hine kavanas abor yisparach shemo b'brias ha'olam haita sheyeh makom la'ashras hashchina b'tachtonim. The whole purpose of the creation of the world, the intent of God from the very beginning was that he should have a dwelling place, so to speak, down in this world. It says in Bereshis Rabbah, Ikar Shechina b'tachtonim, Haita kevan shechata adam rishon nistalka. The whole intent was that God, his presence should dwell very strongly in the world. The only reason that was removed to some degree is because of the sin of Adam Harishon. And the Medrash Tanchuma says, Nis'ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kashem sheyesh lo dir lamala, sheyeh lo kach dir lamata, shkachu omer l'adam harishon, kevan she'amdu Yisrael, amar lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lo yatzasim Mitzrayim ela al menashe tasu li mishkan, v'ashra shchinasi beinechem. The Medrash Tanchuma suggests that from the very beginning God wanted to have a dwelling place in the world. Adam Harishon destroys that possibility. After the Jewish people leave Egypt, Hashem makes it very clear to them that the whole purpose of Yetzias Mitzrayim was, of course, not only to become free and not to receive the Torah, not to come to Eretz Yisrael, but also to be able to build a Mishkan so that God could bring his presence back into the world. So we see that the whole purpose of the Jewish people, the whole purpose of our freedom in Yetzias Mitzrayim, was to create a Dira B'Tachtonim, to create the Mishkan, a stronghold for God's presence here in the world. And in doing so, we actually fulfilled the very original mandate of creation. We see there are many aspects of the creation story that reverberate in the Mishkan. Some go into great detail about how every aspect of the Mishkan is actually a recreation of something from the creation story in terms of the creation of the world. But on a simpler sense, the architect of the Mishkan, Bezalel, the one salient feature that Chazal pointed that was so special about him is that he knew how to be mitzaref, the osio shenivru b'hem shamayim va'aretz. He could connect the letters that were used in the creation of the world. Why creation of the world? And again, it connects Bezalel's construction of the Mishkan to some secret of the creation of the world. The Mishkan's creation was somehow the completion of Brias HaOlam that had come so long before, that had never fully come to fruition because God couldn't bring His Shechina down Batachtonim. Ubiskaven HaMishkan al Machono, v'yarda Shechina al Dur Lamata, Nismala Kavanas Ma'aseh Bereshis. When the Mishkan was finally completed, then the intent of creation was completed as well. And that's why Chazal tell us Shahaita Simchu Lifnei Marom Kiyom Shenivru B'Shamayim Va'aretz. The Medrash Toras Kohanim also comments and says that the Simcha of the creation of the Mishkan was the same as the Simcha of the creation of the world. Now, in one sense, the Medrash is just trying hyperbolically to say just how great a day it was. But it could have compared it to many other wonderful days in the past, the day Jewish people left Mitzrayim, the day Adam Arishon was created. Why say specifically the day Avram Avinu discovered HaKadosh Baruch Hu? There's many great simchas in the world. Why connect it to that one in specific? So Maayan Beit Hashoeva, Rav Schwab is suggesting that the reason that Medrash connects those two events is because, again, it's not just that it was a great day of simcha like when Avram discovered monotheism, but it was dafka, the same kind of simcha as Brias HaOlam, because it was the conclusion of Brias HaOlam. It was the continuation of that story. All of these midrashim seem to fit into the same theme. From nothing came a world that was finally completed. Now we come back to our medrash. Our medrash which says this day of Rosh Chodesh Nisan, of Shmini Lemiluim, of the Hakamas HaMishkan, that day was a day that took the crown of the Rishon L'Maaseh Bereshis. It's not just saying that the Mishkan was established on Sunday. It was the first day of the week, so it took the crown of the first day of the week. What does that mean? I understand it was the first, many firsts. It was the first of the months. That's significant. It was the first day of the Avodah. That's significant. The first day the Kohanim took over. That's significant. The first of the week? Who cares that it was a Sunday? Who cares it was Rishon L'Maaseh Bereshis? Says Rosh Schwab, it wasn't pointing to the fact that it was a Sunday. That's not why it takes the crown of Yom Rishon. What the Medrash was pointing to, what the Gemara was pointing to, and saying that the day of Hakamas HaMishkan was also Rishon L'Maaseh Bereshis is not saying that it's the first day of the week, first day of the creation week. Excuse me. But it was saying that it was actually a day correlated to the Rishon L'Maaseh Bereshis, the first day of the creation of the world. That's why this Gemara connects the two. So the day of the Hakamas HaMishkan took the crown of the first day of the creation of the world, that finally that crown descended into the world. Imagine like a king or queen is preparing to take over in terms of their leadership. The day they're crowned, when the crown descends upon their head, they're formally introduced as the king or queen. So too here with the world. The world was waiting for its crown all this time. The world was waiting in preparation for the day of its final completion. And that final completion comes when the Mishkan comes in the world, when God finally has a dwelling place, Batachtonim. And that's the day the world receives its crown. It's formally coronated as the world, because the world was finally complete. It's not that the physical creation of the world was done. That was done already in Maaaseh Bereshis. It's tachlis. The purpose of the world was finished. The purpose of the world was to give God a dira batachtonim, and that finally came to fruition in this day of Hakamas HaMishkan. Hayada oso hayom yom rishon b'shavua dugmas yom rishon Maaaseh Bereshis. And it was that the Hakamas HaMishkan fell on a Sunday, on the first day of the creation week, so that we could be clued into the fact that it was parallel to the first day of the creation of the world. Just like the world began on a Sunday, so to speak, on Yom Rishon, so too this beginning of the world happened on Yom Rishon as well, and took the crown of that day, finalizing that complete circle. It's a very hard concept to understand as we conclude all the parshios of Shemos and the Hakamas, the building of the Mishkan, and now we get into Vayikra, the deep parshios after the inauguration of the Mishkan and the use of the Mishkan, the korbanos of the Mishkan, to think very carefully about what it means that God wants to create a Dira B'Tachtonim. The whole purpose of the Mishkan was that God should have a dwelling place in the world. I floated that idea through this Maayan Beit Hashoeva in a very flippant way. It's not a flippant thing. It requires much thought to understand what that means. Of course, Hashem doesn't need a place in the world. And furthermore, even if he needed it, there's no way to contain God in any way in the world. In fact, excuse me, when we move from the Mishkan finally to the creation of the Beis Hamikdash in Shlomo HaMelech's time, in his inaugural prayer that initiates the Beis Hamikdash, he declares definitively that the whole endeavor of the Mikdash is ridiculous. Hashemayim lo yichalkelucha, he says. Even the heavens cannot contain you, God, but we have built this house. What Shlomo HaMelech was capturing there is what I think is relevant to us here in the Mishkan as well, the idea of Dira B'Tachtonim, that of course God can't be contained in the world, but God gets, so to speak, a foothold in this world through us. Every one of us is an emanation of the divine. Every one of us is a nitzos, is a spark, is a chelak elokah mimal, is a piece of God's spirit. The more we tap into that spirit through Torah, through mitzvos, through prayer, through connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through connecting our little chelak elokah mimal with the grand elokah mimal, so that they all come together into one unity. The more we do that, the more, of course, God's spirit funnels into the world, not in a physical manner, but in a spiritual manner. The more we tap into our chelak elokah mimal, the more we arouse our chelak elokah mimal, the more we perfect our neshamos, the more we automatically bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the world. We, in fact, are the Dira B'Tachtonim. But the Mishkan is necessary for us to reach there. Religious centers of worship, where we as human beings who think in concrete terms can concretize our worship, can be inspired towards worship, can see godless in worship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is an absolutely necessary step for us to arouse our chelak elokah mimal. So in effect, the Mishkan is God's Dira B'Tachtonim because it was the vehicle through which we could be able to discover that Dira B'Tachtonim within each and every one of us. Which is why, by the way, the Mefarshim, especially the Alshich and others, comment in the very beginning of Parshas Truma. The whole endeavor of the Mishkan is first mentioned in the Torah. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'socham. Famous comment, v'shachanti b'socham, and should say v'shachanti b'socho, that I will dwell in the Mishkan. We say v'shachanti b'socham, b'soch kol echad v'echad. The purpose of the Mishkan was that God should dwell in every one of us. What do you mean in every one of us? We're building a Mishkan. God should dwell here. No, it's the same shot as I'm saying right now. The whole idea of the Mishkan, from the very beginning of Parshas Truma till now, in Shmini, when it's finally inaugurated, is that the Mishkan should just be a vehicle for every one of us to create a Mishkan within ourselves, to imagine what it's like to create centers of Kedusha, so that we can do that within our own lives, within our own spirit, and within our own neshama, which is truly a chelak elokah mimal. And if we do that, we fill the world with tremendous godliness just by definition. Shabbat Shalom.